Hello, hello, and welcome everyone to my weekly BLAB show. And one of these days I'm going to get theme music like podcasts have and be like, bum, 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 bum. I'm like, it'll be pretty badass once I finally get that. But tonight I've got Miss Malaprop is my guest. Am I saying that right? Malaprop?
Yeah.
Malaprop. Okay, awesome. Mallory, aka Mallory. And tonight we're going to talk about SEO and blogging, and I'm really excited for this topic. It's one that I have not talked about on my BLAB, and it's one that I'm not really that awesome with. So I'm going to take lots of notes, and you're going to have to do most of the talking, and I'll do most of the question answering.
Yeah, okay. That was why I shared the amazing resource with you. There's a lot of other stuff there, so you don't have to scribble so hard. My internet just got out.
Yeah, no, I went through.
I think sometimes I move too fast for the computer to understand.
Yeah, don't move. Just, only breathe. Hold very, very still. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Samantha Parker. I'm the owner of Hype Social Strategies. I create real and profitable social media strategies for online business owners. And then also I work with a lot of local business owners. I am also a blogger. I am not an SEO expert though, but if you need some social media management, social media strategies, I'm definitely your girl. And I'll go ahead and I'll type in the chat box where you can find me on Instagram and some other places. And Mallory, do you want to tell us a little bit about you and what
Mallory
you do?
Whitfield, Miss Malaprop online. I started my website, missmalaprop.com, in 2006. And it started as a blog. I, for a very long time, had this dream of opening a retail store for handmade and eco-friendly products. So it was kind of building towards that. And then I did a lot of craft shows, and along the way I realized I didn't want to do retail. But I taught myself all this stuff about search engine optimization, aka SEO, and social media and all this other stuff. And about just over 2 years ago, I ended up getting a job at FSC, Focus Smart Communications. I can't even say the name of my own day job business. So I have a job at Focus Smart Communications that I almost said was fart. So we're a digital marketing agency in New Orleans. So the last couple of years, I have upped my game on both sides of it. So I do SEO for clients, and then I learn stuff at my day job and then bring it back and implement it on my own site. And then I learn stuff from my own site and bring it to my day job and just keep building it and building it and building it. So that is.
That's really awesome. So what exactly do you do? Do you just
my official title now is content analyst. I just moved over to our creative department from the search department, which is both paid search like Google AdWords and stuff like that, as well as search engine optimization, looking for organic traffic. So right now it's kind of a mix of doing SEO along with the more creative side of blogging and email marketing and content marketing, which is kind of a bigger picture, would include social media and blogs and also stuff like we're doing right now, like BLAB and webinars and all sorts of different content across the web. So it's really thinking about how we can make all of that work better for our clients. And then I bring that back on my own website and try to make it work better for other people and myself and make the world a better, smarter, cooler place.
That's awesome. So yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting Miss Malaprop. I'm just going to call you that. I don't even know. Yeah. It just sounds better than Mallory because I'm always like, it's Miss Malaprop. I met you in person this year, which was kind of fun. I'm going to lock the seat for just a minute, and then you're welcome to jump in here in just a few minutes when we get to questions. Sorry about that. Can you see what's coming in and out? I'm not sure.
Oh, I see. There's Georgia Baby Doll. Is that person that came in? I think I see, right? E-Boy asked SEO tips for noobs. We're totally going to cover that. You'll stick around and we'll tell you some stuff.
Awesome. I'm like, and what was I even talking about now? I totally just lost train of thought. Okay, so anyways, that was like a really probably short overview of everything you do. But I know where I was going. I had the pleasure of meeting you at the Alt conference, and that was super fun. We had some fun, and Mallory had snuck in bootlegged booze. which I thought was awesome. I was like, okay,
I
you're
live
my new
in New
favorite person
Orleans,
in
so
the
I had to
entire
come
world.
bearing Bayou rum from Louisiana here. It's very delicious.
I thought that was so awesome. But yeah, I know you told me that you ran like the social media sites for the Louisiana
So at our
tourism
day
department.
job,
Was
we
that what it was?
we're one of the biggest agencies in town for what we do, and we have a lot of really high profile accounts, including the tourism accounts, which is if you look on Instagram or Facebook for Visit New Orleans, that's us. I don't work directly on that account very much, but that's my day job. That's our agency that manages that, and we work with a lot of other really cool. If you've ever heard of Hotel Monteleone, which is a really famous historic hotel. It's mentioned in a lot of like Tennessee Williams plays, and Truman Capote stayed there. We manage all of the social media and SEO and paid search. We pretty much do everything for them. So that's another really cool account that we work with.
That's super awesome. Those are like some big, yeah. I've never heard of that place, mostly just because I've never been to the South, really. I know, I'm kind of stuck here in this Utah. I go to Vegas a lot. I don't know if that counts.
Actually, I hate Vegas. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah. Well, we're just like, it's our closest big city, and there's not a lot here where I live, so we go to Vegas for a lot of things. Okay, but anyways, let's just jump into the questions. And I know you're jealous that I go to Vegas all the time. I'm just kidding. All right, so let's just talk about the basics. What is SEO and why is it important for blogging or just personal websites?
SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it's basically trying to get your website found in Google and other search engines too, but Google is really the big one. Obviously, there's Yahoo and Bing and other ones popping up, but Google's the big one. So it's about hoping that we can, without spending money on paid ads, because those are also a part of what shows up in the search results, hoping that we can get your website in the first page of the results, and hopefully as close to the top of that first page as possible. Because most people, you probably don't often click past the first page, right? You're not really going to dig 5 pages down in the search results to find something. Yeah.
I don't. When I was in school and finishing papers, sometimes I would get into the second and third page, but I always felt like the information, it's a stigma. The information.
Yeah, and usually it's not super good. So unless you're searching for something so specific that there's not a lot out there, the best stuff is usually on the first page for a reason. So it's all about trying to figure out how to make that happen, and that has changed a lot over time, and it's constantly changing because Google has algorithms with their search engines, much like I'm sure you're familiar with Facebook, and now Instagram has announced they're doing the algorithm too. So it's the same kind of thing, and that stuff changes all the time.
Yes.
But it's really similar to social media and those algorithms like Facebook and Instagram, in that at the end of the day, all of those platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Google, they just want to serve up the best, most relevant content to the people that are using that platform, right? So as much...
And that's why people continue to use Google and, the various platforms, is because it is still extremely good content. Instead of just bunch of random nonsense.
The more that you can make the content on your website make sense for real people and have a really good experience once they're there, the better you're going to be in terms of getting your website optimized for the search engines. That's really the kind of overarching gist of it. There's a lot of technical stuff, and some of it is easier to understand and implement than other things. And luckily, most of the really important stuff is the easier to understand, but takes a lot of time and effort to actually execute it kind of stuff. So
I couldn't even imagine. Sometimes I'm like, what? What? I feel like SEO is like a unicorn almost. I'm like, really?
Yeah, you do. All good things come with work, right? Even Facebook, if you want stuff to be popular on Facebook, you've got to make something that's useful or engaging or entertaining for somebody to want to click on it. Wait, so Mr. Wonderful is asking, sometimes you see a crap website with ads and it ranks high. Why? So Google's still a computer. It's not It's not as smart as us. It's getting smarter all the time. Although in the last year or so, they've definitely been making a lot more improvements to their technology to try to get rid of those crap websites. Google doesn't want those websites that are full of ads and all that stuff to show up as much as they sometimes still do. But Google's said that they're basically going to start penalizing those sites. So hopefully you'll see them less and less in the higher positions for the search engines. So some of the things that Google looks at in terms of what they rank higher in the search engines has to do with, do you have words on your website page that reflect what the person's looking for? And it's more nuanced now than it used to be. So if you've ever heard of something called keyword stuffing, this used to be popular like 5-10 years ago. You could really game the system by, if you wanted to rank for wedding dresses, for example, you have like a wedding boutique, you would just say wedding dresses, wedding dresses, wedding dresses, wedding dresses, wedding dresses, like over and over on that page. And that used to work, and you could be at the top of the search results. But people did that, and it was awful content. It was like crappy content covered with ads, and nobody wanted to read it, and it was a horrible user experience, and somebody would land on that site and immediately go back to the search engine results, right? So Google saw that, and they're like, I don't want to give you a bad experience, so we have to get our machines to be smarter. So now Google factors in stuff like, if the words make sense in terms of what somebody's searching for, but also, are there all those other variations that we naturally use, right? So like, you might talk about wedding dresses, but there's other stuff that's involved with that too. Different synonyms of wedding dresses, bridal gowns. And then, is that information useful? Are you just posting a bunch of pictures of wedding dresses that like don't have any other information about what they are or who they would be a good fit for? And then Google will also take into account something. So if the click-through rate's really important. So if you show up for your website, somebody searches for wedding dresses and you show up and they click through and that site's awful, or it's that page full of spammy ads, and you click back immediately, Google's going to say, oh, that you clicked right back out. You're not, not spending a lot of time on the page. How you interact with that page starts to add up and matter in terms of if your website's going to continue to be ranked. So it's about whether they click through to begin with, like, because you can control what shows up in the search engine results. You know how there's a little snippet of your website? So there's like the headline, and there's kind of like a little 2-sentence blurb. Mm-hmm. So that's called the page title and the meta description. Yeah. And both of those you can control on every single page. So for example, if you're using WordPress, which is one of the most common platforms for building websites, there's a really awesome tool that I highly recommend if you use WordPress called Yoast. It's a plugin, and it's really the best SEO plugin. You don't really need any others. If you're on WordPress, you can just use this one. And if you have Squarespace or something, pretty much every website building platform has an area where you can enter your page title and your meta description. So your page title will also show up if you're looking at the browser right now. It probably says BLAB, beta, SEO, and blogging, something like that in your browser. Right? So it shows up there. That's the page title, but it also shows up in the search engine results. So that's what somebody sees. That's the little headline for them deciding if they want to click through or not. And the meta description is those 2 lines underneath that little extra kind of elevator pitch for your page. So those things matter in that they help determine if somebody's going to click through when you do show up in the search results, right? So that's a really easy thing that you can tweak for every single page. You want to include the keywords that somebody would search for, but it's less important. It's more about making it really juicy for somebody to want to click through. In the same way that if you're adding something on Facebook, you want to alter whatever the text says to make it interesting to somebody so that they want to click through from Facebook. Same idea. So.
Okay. So it's kind of cool how it's different platforms, but everything kind of goes together. I mean,
that's the thing, is like Google's getting where their machines are smarter. So at the end of the day, all marketing is about people. We're not marketing to machines. We're just using machines as these tools to help us get the word out to other people. But if you can just think about people and not trying to like game the system and like trick a machine, you're going to be better in the long run. Because when I was talking about keyword stuffing earlier, where people used to just repeat words and words and words the same over and over again, that used to work for a while because the machines were too stupid. But then as soon as Google and the other search engines got smart, none of those tricks worked anymore. And that's what's called black hat SEO, which is kind of like the bad version of SEO. Some of those tricks, some of those black hat tricks, even now will still occasionally work, which is why occasionally you see kind of gross stuff that shows up high in the search engine. But Google's technology is getting so much smarter that they're trying to weed all of that stuff out, basically. So think about real people and like, is the user experience on your website good? That's a huge part of it.
That's awesome. I think it makes, the quality of content you're putting out extremely important. And I know that it kind of ties in, like for me, people were like freaking out about this Instagram algorithm. And I was like, if you're showing up and you're interacting and you're putting out quality content, I don't know what the big deal is. I think it's awesome, to be honest.
Totally agree. Yeah, people do the same thing. Like they freak out every time Google makes an algorithm change. And it's like, if you're trying to game the system, it's going to suck when one of those algorithm changes. But if you're just like chugging along and making stuff for actual human beings, it's not that complicated.
Yes,
like
exactly.
It's a lot of work, but I
was like, why would? Well, you just have to put out quality content, which you should be doing anyways if you have an online business. That's my my point there. Okay, so Mr. Wonderful, Mr. Wonderful's awesome. I want to meet you someday. He always pops in on the blabs, but I mostly like the name. I'm like, hey, Mr. Wonderful.
So he's asking.
I think he asked another question where it's dropped down. Sorry. Any tips you have on image-heavy sites? Does that affect your SEO at all?
So for one thing, we want to think about our user experience once they get on our website, right? So a huge part of user experience is site speed, right? We never want to wait for a website to take forever to load. So that's definitely something to consider if you have an image-heavy website, because images. So think about if you have a DSLR camera and you take photos and you dump them on your computer. Those image files are probably really massive, which is great if you want to print images, but you don't necessarily need them to be as massive of a file as they are when they come off of your camera. They don't need to be that size to go on your website unless you're selling, photos that your people are going to download. You're a photographer and they need to be able to have that full, high res version. They probably don't, just to browse your site though. So you always want to resize the images to be web friendly. They don't need to be 5,000 pixels wide if they're never going to show up that big on your site. So thinking about resizing in terms of the pixels as well as compressing them. So if you have something like Photoshop, there's save for web features. So always use the save for web feature and compress your images. There's a whole bunch of different image compression tools that you can do for that. So that's one big thing if you have an image heavy site. Another thing is making sure that you optimize the name of the file before you ever upload it to your website. So if you've ever used Google image search, right? The reason that all that stuff comes up in Google image search is because somebody has named that image file or used alt and title text that describes what that thing is. So you've probably sometimes used Google image search and occasionally stuff comes up that doesn't really match what you were looking for because somebody probably named that image really poorly, or maybe it was like a file name from something else and they like copy and paste it, or who knows. But Google's smart, but they're not
guilty.
Like if your photo comes off of your camera with like DSC0092, Google doesn't know what that picture is, so that's never going to come up in Google. Google has no idea what it is. So that's naming the actual file itself like cute baby panda bear.jpg, right? Before you ever upload it. So that's another thing. And then my other thing for images would be if you, especially if you're interested in getting traffic from Pinterest, which is like my favorite of all the social media platforms in terms of driving traffic back to my website. It's huge for me. So if you've ever clicked on an image on a blog and you went to pin it on Pinterest, you know how it automatically populates some sort of description. And every once in a while you might be on a blog and there's that like DSC 0092 because nobody changed their image name and that's what gets pre-populated. You've probably like seen those on Pinterest. Or sometimes you have something that's like really long and super useful and totally describes what this picture is about. So whatever gets pulled in there is from your alt text. So you always want to add a really descriptive alt text and think, especially if you're using Pinterest, think about what's going to get pulled into Pinterest. So lately I've been writing my alt text with Pinterest in mind because like that's what I care about. Pinterest sends a ton of traffic to my site.
No, I totally agreed. And I know for WordPress, you use the alt text. On Squarespace, it's just putting a description under the photo and then you can hide the description and it kind of works the same way. So that's what I do for mine. But I do have a WordPress site as well. So I'd use the alt text for that. Okay, so you might have kind of already answered this question. I didn't realize you were such an SEO genius. I'm like, what? I'm like over here with my little pencil. I'm like, and then I'm going to optimize my image name. I'm like, I've never even thought about that. Sometimes I'm just pumping out graphics so fast.
And,
like,
and also like, don't like, you know, if somebody out there is like equally like knowledgeable, like don't go comb my own website because over the years I've been lazy and it's been 10 years in the making. So like, I'm, you know, it's definitely a habit you have to create. Like you kind of need a checklist next to you to like all the millions of things you need to do or like go back to do on a blog post. But you can always publish and then go back and fix stuff from like 2 years ago on a post that you still get traffic to.
Well, yeah, I've only had my blog up for like less than a year. And I've like I've redone all my images, you know, like it's an evolving process all the time. And then like I've deleted stuff that didn't really make sense or that I felt like was crap, you know, and I'm sure like in 2 years, I'll look back at the stuff I did today and be like, oh, that's crap, you know? So we just evolve and move. And I think that's what's kind of fun about the process. So this next question, can you give me some examples of how SEO is
so that was actually a really great lead-in because as you were talking about that, I was thinking about the answer to this question because you sent me the questions earlier. So I wrote a post pretty recently. Actually, let me grab the link for you and I'll pop it in here. So it's called the Content Upcycle Method, which is,
I just saw
good.
That. I was
let me pop it in for you guys. So, and don't go look at it now because you want to listen to me talk. But bookmark it later and go check it out because it's really long. It's like 2,500 words or something. So, like I said, I've been blogging for like 10 years. And a lot of the content, I've done the same thing. Like there's some posts that I'd written years ago that totally don't make sense. They don't really get any traffic anymore. So I redesigned my site a few months ago. And some of those I deleted entirely. But then there's other ones that maybe I wrote them 4 years ago. And they're still really good kind of evergreen content. It's going to be useful all the time. There might be little bits and pieces that need to be updated or added to, but the base of the content, the base of the idea is still really good. So I will notice in Google Analytics, for example, which is where I track the traffic coming to my website, this post from 4 years ago is still getting a lot of traffic. So people are seeing it. So I want to go back through occasionally, check it, make sure everything is still up to date, make sure there aren't any broken links, and really just make it the best possible post that I can. So I've done that a lot over the years. And there's a few posts, for example, where I've gone back in multiple times. And every time I do that, it gets better and the traffic gets better. So that post will actually like walk you through some specific examples. I have this one post that I did that's it's a funny white elephant GIFs, and it started out many moons ago on a secondary site that I had that I don't have anymore, but that I'd kind of used as like my sandbox, my web sandbox. And it started out as just a few simple products with like images and links, and now it's like almost a mini e-commerce site, except that all of the products link to Amazon affiliate products, so people can go to Amazon and then buy them, and then I make a commission. And December I made like awesome. $4,700 just from that one blog post. It's pretty incredible. Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. That's way cool. So I guess that's like a perfect example of just doing it for yourself. So do you have any guides for Google Analytics?
So I recently spoke at Thrive Blog Conference in Houston all about Google Analytics. And I actually have, I've been trying out this new platform. It's called, I'm never sure if I'm saying it right. It's either Patreon or Patreon. It's supposed to be like patron of the arts. So I've been kind of testing that out. I actually did a video recording, but I did it specifically for my subscribers there. Oh, that's the one link I didn't pull up. Let me grab the link for you guys. So that is something that I did a recording of. That's like a really cool walkthrough of Google Analytics. I might be at some point doing some more Google Analytics kind of training courses, because I know that's something that's really confusing to a lot of people. The main areas that you really want to, what? Yeah. This link's gonna, Patreon. Bernadette, I love you. Bernadette was at Thrive Blog Conference, so she saw the whole spiel. But really, there's like so much in Google Analytics. It can get really overwhelming when you're in there. I would say head to like the audience section where you can kind of get the overview. You can drill down to some cool information about like where they're from geographically, if that's important to you, especially if you have like a local business and you want to make sure that the people who are coming to your website are coming, like I'm based in New Orleans, right? And a lot of our clients at my day job are based in New Orleans. So they want to make sure that the people coming to their website are from New Orleans and not from like Russia, which, you know, if you have a local business based in New Orleans and you have a ton of traffic from Russia, it's probably a lot of spam. This is just a thing.
Yeah. Do you, sorry to cut you off for a second. Do you look at any of like the WordPress, how it shows like the traffic like and data, or is that
what gets pulled in from like the WordPress.com, or if you have Jetpack plugin, it pulls in the stats. I have that set up on a couple of client sites just as kind of, it's more if we don't really do ongoing SEO work for them and they want to kind of pay attention to that stuff themselves. It's slightly different data from Google Analytics. And Google Analytics, because most people have the free version, they have these like really super premium versions for like ginormous businesses like Pepsi or something. We don't even use that version on any of our client sites at my day job right now, just because it's so expensive. But on the free version that most people have, they hide a lot of data. They say a lot of it's for like security and privacy. And I'm sure a lot of it is, but I think a lot of it's also like, you know, pay to play. So they're not going to give us everything. Sorry, I'm totally off track of what your question was.
So I guess you're saying
it's not that it's not accurate. It's just that it's like sometimes it's pulling a slightly different information or like tracking it in different ways. It's still good. Like you can totally check the stats. The stats within WordPress isn't going to go as deep as Google Analytics is, though. Stats in WordPress is going to give you like more general, like how many people visited your website, which is great, but you can't dive in the way that you can with Google Analytics. Like, so Google Analytics, I can go in there and see where people are coming from geographically. I can see if they're viewing my website from a mobile device or a tablet or a desktop computer, but then I can go a step further and see like what specific devices they're looking at. I can see if they're on an iPhone. I can see if they're on like a Samsung tablet. You can get really crazy specific. You can also set up goals and do all sorts of other super high level tracking with Google Analytics that you can't do with those stats. Yeah. And also awesome. Another really cool tool that I love for kind of other, even beyond what Google Analytics can do, it's called Hotjar, HOTJAR.com. So they offer a free version up to, so this is what it does. It sets up, it's called a heat map. So basically I install tracking code using this Hotjar little script that they give you, kind of like how you would set up Google Analytics on your website. So I set up this little tracking code in the back end of my website. And then I can tell it, I want to put a heat map and capture how people are interacting with my homepage, for example. And on the free version of this platform, it'll let you set up a heat map for up to 3 different pages at a time and collect up to 1,000 visits per page. So I can see 1,000 different people and like where those people clicked. It'll show me kind of, you know, like if a lot of people clicked, it'll get really bright red. If a few people clicked, it'll kind of be like a light blue, but I can see the exact points on my website that people were clicking and what they were doing. So it kind of lets you understand your visitor better, get inside their head.
That's awesome. Did I spell that right? Just Hotjar?
Hotjar. Yes. Hotjar. Here, I can grab the hot link for you.
Okay.
Yeah, Hotjar.
I'm like, just like a Hotjar, right?
Let me grab the link for you.
That's actually really cool because then you can kind of like optimize like your homepage and stuff to like get people to follow kind of what the pattern you want them to follow. I like that. Okay, so for the DIY blogger, how can they go about implementing SEO? Which I think you've gone over like tons and
I
tons
talked
of tips.
a lot about really basic kind of on-page SEO, which is like the actual stuff on your website, which is, you know, page titles, meta description, the actual content of your blog post or your pages. So eBoy just asked, what's one thing I could do today that would get me a boost in traffic? So those are definitely things that you can do immediately that will help. But there's another huge part of SEO that happens off of your website. It's something you can definitely start doing today. It usually takes a little longer, but in the end, it's going to have an even bigger impact, which is to do link building and get links back to your website. So you can have a website that's perfectly optimized from an on-page standpoint, and you can, you know, put all the keywords. You can have like 2,000 word blog posts that are super amazing. But if nobody knows about it and you haven't shared it anywhere and no other websites are linking to you, it's going to be really hard to get much traffic to that site. Google will find it to some extent. That was what I mentioned. I had this kind of sandbox site that I used to have where I first started that funny white elephant gifts ideas post. I didn't really do a lot of link building or social media promotion or anything to that site. And it did get traffic, but it never got the same amount of traffic that my main site, Miss Malaprop, gets, because Miss Malaprop, for one thing, is really old. So it has that on its side. I've had it for 10 years. So I've had a lot of time to build link juice with other websites linking to it. I've gotten a lot of press from different places over the years. But for example, for clients that we have at my day job at FSC, a huge part of it is just there's websites that technically everything is pretty much in place, but nobody's linking to them. And therefore, Google doesn't prioritize them. If, you know, the number of links, but also the relevancy of the other websites that link back to you is super important, because it tells Google, hey, this website, this brand, other people are talking about it. Therefore, it must be something that's important, something that's useful. It's just like anything else. You know, there's social proof, right? Like if you see an Instagram account that has 40,000 followers, you're like, oh, they have 40,000 followers. It must be worth checking out, right? It's the same kind of thing. So it's kind of a snowball effect. It's hard to build links for sure. A big part of it comes down to kind of basics of press and PR and trying to make yourself newsworthy. For example, if you have a locally based business and you're able to get mentioned, you have a press release, you have a great local event. Maybe it's like a charity fundraiser and you send out press releases to your local newspaper. Newspapers all have websites now, right? So hopefully you'll get written up. If you do something awesome enough, you'll get written up in the newspaper and you'll be on their website. So some websites are better about this than others. So sometimes you just have to follow up. But if you get mentioned on a website, you want that mention of you to link back to your website. So if they're like, oh, Miss Malaprop's having this awesome party and it's super cool, I'm like, I want you to link to my website where it says Miss Malaprop. Yeah.
You're like www.
And so sometimes you have to like follow up with people, especially if it's journalists doing that sort of stuff. And some websites are picky, like especially with bigger news websites, sometimes they have rules about how many times they'll link or if they'll link at all. So it's not this like cut and dry situation, but it's worth spending the time to try to build links to your site for sure.
That's awesome. That's actually a really good tip. But that's kind of like my last question is, what is one thing people can do today to improve their SEO or just get started?
Sorry.
So you stole my question. I was like, you're stealing my last question. Okay, so I'm going to lock this if anyone wants to jump back in. And I know right at first, is it Patricia? I know that she wanted to call in, and I'm going to let you in if you still want in. Georgia Baby Doll. It might have been an accident too, because I know sometimes when people are new.
I just learned how to give hands up. Hi.
Yeah, they're like little.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Patricia.
No.
How are you? Did you have a question?
Well, I don't know what I'm doing.
No. Oh.
It just said to call in, so I called in. I don't have a question. I was just kind of joining just for information, and it's been really good information.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I was wondering, because I saw it was your first day on BLAB, and a lot of people will like call in to join, and I'm like, oh, so you want to pop in? And they're like, oh, crap.
This is my first time on BLAB too.
And I see you.
I love BLAB. I feel like it's just a little more like mellow, open questions, you know, and it's not like a webinar where you're like on top of your game, you know, you can just kind of relax, chill, have fun.
No,
I
love this. I tried to get on Periscope this summer when everybody was like, oh, Periscope. And I was like, this is weird. I'm like on my phone talking to myself, and like, I couldn't tell if it was working. This is much better.
Yeah, I gave Periscope a pretty good try, and I hated talking to myself, because literally you're talking to yourself even if people are watching. And then it got like super creepy, like, you know, show me a boob, and I'm like,
there are other sites where you can do that. So.
Like, I don't want to. Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to play. So. It kind of popped off. I totally agree with Mr. Wonderful. You are really super fabulous.
I'm getting better at trying to read all of the things and talk to you at the same time. Thank you. Maybe I will have a weekly show one day. Maybe I'll figure it out.
I know. You should have like a weekly, because I'm sure you could have a whole show on like just one little snippet of what we were talking about.
I like to talk.
So yeah, if you want, if anyone else wants to hop in and ask questions, we're definitely open for questions. I see Kathy's in here. I'm sure Kathy has questions about SEO. In fact, I know Kathy has questions about SEO. I'll just call her out. What are you doing, Kathy? She's probably like, I'm gonna kill you.
Oh, Bernadette, that's a great question.
Sorry if you answered.
So Bernadette just asked, what's a good way to find your specific keywords? So if you have a Google AdWords account, which is the paid ads at the top of the search results, they have a tool within that called Keyword Planner. And you can set this up and not actually have to run the ads to use this tool. I use it all the time, even though I don't personally run ads. They might ask you for a credit card in order to set it up, but you shouldn't have to actually run the ads. But they have a tool called Keyword Planner, and basically you can throw in different words, kind of like the jumping off point, and it'll give you that word and kind of other suggested phrases as if you were going to run paid ads, but you don't have to. And then it'll give you estimates of search volume, like how many people in the world, or you can narrow it down and say how many people in New Orleans or how many people in the United States. On a monthly basis, search for that word or that set of words. And it'll also tell you if it's high, medium, or low competition. So if it's low competition, that's really good news, because that means that not a lot of people are trying to rank their websites for that. So it's going to be easier to rank your website. But if it's high competition, like personal injury attorney, super high competition everywhere, it's going to be a lot harder to rank your website, because there's a ton of websites trying to compete for that word. So that's kind of the industry standard one. There's also there's other tools that I see pop up all of the time that I haven't really explored because they're usually pretty expensive. So that's really great. Also, I love just heading to Google search and using all of their auto suggest features. Yeah.
I was just going to ask you, because that's kind of how I've optimized my Pinterest, is I just start typing, and then I whatever populates below, I make that into a sentence.
Pretty much all of the search engines have that now. And if it's popping up in those auto suggested, it's pretty popular. Like Google thinks that's what you're about to type for a reason, because a lot of people have typed that. So do that on Google. You can use it on Pinterest. Is really great. Remember, Pinterest is a search engine as much as it is a social. It's even more of it's like a social search engine, really. It's not even Yeah.
It's a discovery tool.
What?
I was gonna ask, did you sit in on Kevin from Pinterest at the
I
All
did
conference? Yeah, he kept calling it a discovery
no, that's definitely
tool,
true because
is
it's
what they
very
like to be
aspirational.
called.
People go in there to get inspired about things, which is why it's so great if you do e-commerce. If you do any sort of retail and you're not on Pinterest, like I don't even know what to tell you. You need to like go and get on Pinterest right now.
Yes. Thank you. Amen. I was just trying to tell someone this the other day. I actually have a family member who owns like she sells knives online. It's like a huge company. And they sell knives. Yeah, I'm like, he's like, but our ideal client is a man.
And I'm like,
I still think you should hit up Pinterest.
There's like paid ads on Pinterest. And if you do those, you can target male or female and you can target all this different stuff. So if you go to that content upcycle post that I had, I have a little kind of brief explanation of some of the ways that I've used Pinterest. But in terms of Pinterest, a lot of what I'll do is I'll create images that I know will perform well on Pinterest and put them on my blog post and then pin them to Pinterest and then sometimes boost those with the promoted pins ad. And that's a huge reason why I get so much traffic from Pinterest. It's not that I do have a lot of followers on Pinterest. It's my biggest channel. I have over 12,000 followers on Pinterest. But most of the reason I have those followers is because I know how to create images that will perform well on Pinterest and get in front of people. And so it's like this snowball effect. And in terms of the types of images that perform really well,
that's awesome.
So anything vertical that's like tall and skinny, because most people are either on their phone or just the way that Pinterest lays everything out. If it's, horizontal, it doesn't really take up much space in the feed. So it needs to be vertical for Pinterest, which is really different than most of the other platforms. Like, Instagram's got different variations now, but like Facebook, for example, you can't really do vertical. Pinterest, you really need to. Also, stuff with a little bit of text on it is like people go crazy for on Pinterest. So if you can use a tool like Canva, Canva, my friend Janae,
I could drop it in.
My friend Janae earlier was like, she works at a nonprofit, and she posted a picture to Facebook, like a little quote with Maya Angelou's picture and like Maya Angelou quote. And she's like, how do I make images like this? I know there must be a way. And all these people had responded, my friends that were like, you could use InDesign and Photoshop. And I was like, Canva. Like, it's so easy and free. Yeah.
I teach everyone how to use Canva, like all my clients, because it's so basic, and you can just like pop images out left and right, literally.
I use Pixelmator on my Mac, which is like a much cheaper version of Photoshop. It's really good, and that's what I've created a lot of those Pinterest graphics for on my own website. But I recently actually upgraded to the Canva for Work because it's only like $10 a month, basically. It's like $120 a year, and if you have that version, you can set templates, you can add in all of your brand colors and fonts. And they have so many templates for every single social media channel that, like, if you're a tiny business and can't afford a graphic designer all of the time, it's just going to make your life so much easier.
That's what I use is Canva for Work. I love it because it like saves your colors, and I make social media posts for like multiple clients, so it's really nice just to be like click, click. Everyone looks the same. Patricia, do you want me to take you out? Are you okay? Okay, I'll take you out so you don't have to just be like on point. I like that. I bumped her out of the hot seat. That's awesome. Kathy was saying that her husband uses Pinterest more than she does, and mine does too. In fact, to the point where now, like, we're laying in bed and I look over and I'm like, what are you doing? And
my boyfriend's gotten really into it because he does costuming and he totally uses it for, getting costume ideas and finding inspiration for weird boy stuff that he makes.
Totally. Yeah. He's got like exercise. He's even like spent all this time like with the special categories. He's got like abs exercises, upper body, and I'm like, what the hell? Yard. Man cave garage. He told me he's gonna like turn the garage into like some sort of bar or something. I don't know. And then supposedly this year we were gonna have like all these new flower beds. So we tore out like all of our like garden rock beds, and like everything. So now I just have a giant dirt patch in my backyard. Thank you, Pinterest. I'm like, thank you, Pinterest. You can go fuck yourself now. But no, Pinterest, for me on my business site, like I use it for business, and it's one of my biggest traffic drivers. I think it's my second biggest.
I love that Pinterest life.
Like the pinner life. So my last question is, what is one thing people can do today to improve their SEO or even just get started? And I know I've said this, I think you covered that, so I wouldn't even, unless you have another like amazing tip from like your giant brain.
I told you about my content upcycle method. You can check that out on my website. I told you about Yoast, which is the plugin for WordPress, which if you're using WordPress, I'd highly recommend using that plugin. And it'll kind of help guide you through it, because you can do, you can set a focus keyword with that plugin. And once you do that, it'll kind of be like a game, and it'll have like a little green light system where you can go from red light to yellow light to green light, and you just try to get a green light, and it'll give you little hints. So that's pretty cool. We covered kind of the basics, using Google itself to get ideas for keywords is really good.
I like this, like a little recap. I like
that you prepared to everything. I'm like I'm a perfectionist. This is my problem. I got to stop being
I love it. I freaking love it, because sometimes like, they're like, oh, there was questions. Oh, yes, there were questions.
Okay, so Kathy says, I have Yoast, but it doesn't work with my template very well for the focus keyword. And I'm pretty sure you're on Divi, right? Yeah, you're on Divi. So I have become very familiar with Divi because we've used it for a lot of sites at my day job for clients. And I really love Divi in a lot of ways. It took me a little while. Now I'm kind of like, yeah, Divi. But sometimes, so Yoast is a computer. It's like a program, right? But the problem is that Yoast is like looking for your content, that it's looking for the keywords to be in a very specific place, which is the regular WordPress kind of editor section. And if you use Divi, which has all these different building blocks where you can put your content and organize it differently, Divi's not smart enough to know that the content's in there. So the little the keyword tool, setting the focus keyword and going from red light to yellow light to green light, it's not smart enough to really work properly with Divi. But you can still use Yoast to set the page title and meta description. I just turn off the focus keyword element to it. So I do that a lot with clients. Like I'll still use Yoast because it makes it really easy to actually implement the page title and meta description. And it has a lot of other tools. If you've ever looked in the sidebar of your WordPress dashboard where there's Yoast and there's a lot of other different features that you can use, a lot of it's pretty technical, but it has a lot of other functionality. But I would just try to ignore the focus keyword aspect of it with Divi, because it's just not going to function. Sorry.
I love that you know that. I don't even know what the hell you guys are talking about.
That's a really technical, specific answer, but I've come across it a lot. So Divi is a WordPress theme that's pretty popular. So yeah. But hopefully it was relevant to someone other than Kathy.
Yeah.
If it wasn't, I'm glad it was.
No, I used to be on WordPress, and then I still have my personal blog on WordPress. I've had it on there for like years, but then when I started this one, I don't know, I just went with Squarespace. No, so because it's really damn easy.
So I grew up an internet kid, right? I'm 32, so I kind of have been using the internet since I was 11, right? So all this stuff comes really naturally to me. And even before I was blogging on WordPress, I actually met my boyfriend, very long-term boyfriend, on LiveJournal, starting in 2001, 2002. You look like you have no idea what LiveJournal is, do you? So it's still around. So LiveJournal was before Facebook, before MySpace. That was where I hung out. It was basically a combination between it had a lot of the same feeling as Facebook because all your friends were there. There were different groups. So there used to be a New Orleans group I actually met a lot of people that I'm close friends with in life now. I met them on there first. And I met David, and we're still together many, many years later. But it's a cross between all of that stuff and the social aspect, but it was a blogging platform. So kind of like Blogspot or something. It was hosted and there's a community. But I used to, I learned the bare bones of HTML back in the day, just trying to tweak my layout and make it look pretty, right?
Yes.
Exactly.
It was like that on MySpace too, wasn't it? Like, I remember
how MySpace taught a lot of other people like the basics of HTML so you could make your page look cute.
It did. Yeah.
Yeah, but like,
I'm like, break.
If I didn't go through all of that and I didn't like have this natural ability to adapt to all these changes and figure this stuff out, and I was especially not technically inclined or just didn't want to take all the time to learn it, because it's taken me a damn long time to figure out all this stuff on my own. I totally recommend Squarespace to people all the time, especially if you don't have plans to, run an online course or do something crazy big where you need a lot of, functionality. If you want like a simple e-commerce site or a simple blog or a simple website, Squarespace all the way. I've used it for a couple of client sites and it's really easy. For me, it's almost a little non-intuitive because I want to be able to like dig in the code occasionally. But I think for most people, Squarespace is way more intuitive. So I totally recommend Squarespace for like a basic sort of beginner platform. And it can go past that too, but yeah, Squarespace.
Yeah, I like it, and I've actually noticed like some bigger bloggers are on it. And I was
sometimes I get frustrated with certain things about WordPress, and I'm like, maybe I should move to Squarespace, but it'd be hard for me to move now. But
yeah, I think like where you're established, and I wouldn't move. But so it was funny because today actually
I know what site you're talking about. I don't follow them regularly.
So they had like tweets from like Twitter when it very first started, and it was cracking me up. It was like, I just reorganized my MySpace like top 10 or whatever it was. Like they had all these tweets from people, and I don't know, you brought that up, and so I was like, oh my god, I just saw this today because I got a really good
kind of
laugh out
forgotten, and then it came up recently for me too. So something in the air, maybe it's going to come back. I hope not.
I just remember one of my getting in a really big fight with one of my really good friends because I took her off my top 8 or something. I don't remember. I think I had like a top 4. And she was like, I can't believe you would do that to me. And I was like, I was mad at her, so like took her off. But yeah, anyways, so do you have any Shopify tips? I've been hearing a lot about Shopify lately.
I've used Shopify a little bit. We have a client site that they were. I'm thinking of. Let me double check and make sure I'm thinking of Shopify, because I feel like all of the e-commerce sites have like slightly very similar names, but I think I'm thinking of Shopify before I tell you this. Yeah. Okay. So we had a client. They have like a very modern furniture store here in town, and they were already on Shopify, but they were on like a much older theme from a couple years ago. So last fall we helped kind of update that and make it more user friendly, because again, you want people, once they're on your website, to actually be able to like get around your website and do things and buy things, right? So a lot of the Shopify tips would really be like, in terms of SEO, like the search engine optimization aspect, you should be able to still, set a page title and a meta description and all that good stuff. In terms of your actual product descriptions, I would always err on the side of like, write as much information as you can to make it useful for somebody and make it so that they're going to want to buy it and have all the information they need to be able to buy that thing. Thinking about, what size is it? How does it fit into your life? If it's a piece of clothing, what would you wear it with? If it's a piece of furniture, what room would it look good in? All that stuff's really great for the actual product pages. You can also integrate those kinds of content ideas for like a blog too. What I've done a lot on my website, like I was saying with the funny white elephant gift ideas, I'll kind of curate products around a specific need or type of shopper. You can totally do that for your own e-commerce site too. So that's a really helpful way to kind of make it easy for somebody to buy and create content that's very shareable to send traffic back to your e-commerce site. Make sure that you have good pictures. Pictures are really important on any e-commerce, whether it's Etsy or Shopify or anything else. I had my own e-commerce site. This was before Shopify was really a big thing. So I was using this was like 2010 to 2012. So I was using platforms that aren't really like the big players anymore, but it was just me and my photography skills. So I'm not a professional photographer by any means, but back then my photography skills were not even what they are today. I definitely was trying to get better at that, but that's an area where if you can't be a good photographer, I would find someone to be a good photographer. If you're doing clothes, I would get models. Like photography is really a huge part of, I think, what sells e-commerce. If I can't see it and I can't touch it, like I'm not going to buy it. Like your photos really sell stuff. And all the photo tips that I talked about for an image heavy blog website are also important for e-commerce. So it's a lot of the same principles. And again, it's thinking about once people are on your website, whether it's e-commerce or blog, how are they using it? And have you set it up to make them do the thing you want to do, whether it's buy a product or call your store or whatever it is. You have to make it really simple and obvious for people.
I've heard people say you're not selling the item, you're selling the photo. I have a nuance. It's exactly true. I think we're such a content, like a visual content driven society now. Like I want to see a photo of it. I want to see a video of it even. I mean, we expect everything and all our questions to be answered kind of on demand on the web. And so I think having like high quality and visually appealing like graphics.
Totally. I mean, and also important. Like if you can post more than one photo of an item, definitely do that. Or if you can have like, I think Shopify might have it built in where there's like the zoom in feature where somebody can get closer. But like I don't want to see a tiny picture of like a full dining room table and there's only one of them. And then you expect me to like order that for delivery. Like I need more information than that if I'm going to buy $800 worth of table.
It's true. And then, we've almost got to the point too where it's like, okay, here's this table. Now I want to read a blog post on how this is going to be the best functioning table for my life.
I'm super like, and so, David, my boyfriend too, we're both like, we will research the shit out of something before we buy it, especially if it's expensive. And it doesn't matter like if it's online or if it's like a thing I'm actually going to buy in person. I'll probably research it online first and then still like go buy it at that store in person or whatever. But I need information. And some websites, especially when it's e-commerce, they want to throw on a description that came from like the manufacturer, which is not good because then every other website that sells that product is using the same description probably because they were all too lazy to write their own descriptions. Like make it about like what more value can you add? If you have a physical store, for example, like if you have a brick and mortar store and an e-commerce store, this should be even easier because you actually have customers that come in the store and ask you questions about that item, whether it's a dress or a piece of furniture or whatever. You should know like this person, like people always ask, what type of wood is this thing made of? Or how does this dress fit? Or like people ask you these questions, they're giving you content ideas. Like use that stuff. There's a reason that a frequently asked questions page on a website is like so popular because people have questions and they need to know answers.
So true. Okay, so real quick, I just wanted to ask you, are you speaking at any conferences coming up? I was like making notes while you were talking. Or what conferences will you be at? Just mostly you want to know for my own personal use?
Okay, so I'm going to save the really cool, just happened like 2 hours, maybe an hour before we started this. Okay, I'll save that for the end. So I just spoke at Entrepreneur Week here in New Orleans. I spoke at that last week. That's my most recent gig. And then there's a conference that I spoke at last year that's here again in New Orleans this summer. It's for bloggers. It's called iRetreat. So that's, it's kind of for review bloggers. There's a lot of mommy bloggers there, but it's all sorts of different people. And I think it's like a 2-day conference, very blog heavy. So I'll be speaking at that and about kind of this whole content hacking, content upcycle technique in that content upcycle method post that I shared with you guys. So kind of covering that sort of stuff. And then
that's awesome.
So we're just rolling out the speakers, but as a volunteer and just being involved with this conference, there's another really cool conference here in New Orleans this fall called Venture Pop.
I was like, you're going to talk about Venture Pop.
Okay, we haven't announced the speakers except for the keynote, who, if you've ever heard of her, then you'll know why she's amazing. And if you haven't heard of her, then you should go look her up because she's totally amazing. So The keynote is going to be Tara Gentile. She has something called the Quiet Power Strategy. She also, I know Kathy. Yeah, I was like so excited. Like y'all. Okay, so I helped hook the fact that we have Tara as the keynote speaker. I totally helped with that because I used to advertise on Scouty Girl. I don't know if y'all have followed her forever. I followed her for like a long time. So she used to have this site called Scouty Girl that she sold, but back when she still had it, before she like blew the F up and became this like huge powerhouse that she's known as today, I used to advertise back on my old e-commerce site. So I reached out. Actually, last year, we tried to get her for our first conference. Our first conference was last October. Kathy came down for it. It was really awesome. But she was already booked.
I know Kathy's like really, it's been like, you got to come to Venture Pop this year. And I'm like, I just can't swing all these conferences. And now I'm like, I want to go so bad.
So we tried to get her last year. She was already speaking at another event that weekend. So they reached out, and she's our keynote speaker, and she's really awesome. I spoke at Thrive Blog Conference a couple weeks ago in Houston, and the entire drive there and back, I listened to her Creative Live podcast, which is called Profit Power Pursuit. It's kind of like this, but a podcast that she is just interviewing other creative entrepreneurs. It is so good, y'all. Like, I'm obsessed with Smart Passive Income podcast, but also hers is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, drop it.
Yeah.
In.
Let me go find it for you.
I'm all excited. Okay, so what conference I think I only have one booked that I'm going to, Yellow Conference. I think Kathy. Thank you, Kathy. Are you going to Yellow Conference? I feel like Kathy just needs to be like my, I don't know, maybe someday my full-time project manager assistant. I'm like, Kathy, where's where I'm going?
Oh wait, I have a list of conferences on my blog. Wait, let me find that link for you.
Yes, I'm going to Yellow Conference. Kathy and I are going. We're going to road trip. She's going to drive down from Salt Lake City, Utah, pick me up in southern Utah, and we're going to drive. I'm excited.
So there's the list of conferences. So if y'all know of any conferences that aren't on that list, shoot me an email and I'll add them. It's kind of the theme is like conferences for creative entrepreneurs. So I didn't add like really hardcore expensive business conferences and stuff because there's other lists of those that are already out there. But if you kind of get the vibe of that list and see something that's missing, totally let me know. Oh, but the other thing that happened like an hour before this. So y'all, is lip sealed. This is just between all these people, many people in this room, because we have it. So this just happened like in the last 24 hours. So apparently Facebook itself is having an event here in New Orleans at the Superdome in a few weeks. That's going to be complimentary admission. You just have to sign up ahead of time to go. And Facebook's going to be talking about the basics of Facebook for business. And then they were looking for a few local, small business owners and people who work on social media for companies. So they reached out to me and a colleague of mine, Jeremy, about a client that we work for through FSC that we've both worked on that account. So I'm going to be speaking on a panel at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome hosted by Facebook.
Oh, yeah. That's really awesome. I can't believe you're not out. Okay, so is that what you
I found out about that an hour ago. Like the last night, it was my friend's birthday party and her housewarming party. So it was like it's New Orleans, so like you have to have an excuse to wear a costume, and it was very like you had to be in like fancy pajamas. It was costume mandatory.
But you can wear costumes in merch.
We went into the grocery. David and I went into the grocery store dressed in robes. He was wearing his like Darth Vader robe and sneakers, so it looked like he rolled out of bed. Like I had a turban and like a fancy silk robe and some heels on, so then it made it look like we were going someplace. We went in to get beer and wine in the grocery store like that at like 7 p.m. last night on the way to our friend's house, and then it was costume mandatory.
Okay, well, you can't even buy wine. I couldn't even go to the grocery store and buy wine because you
clearly you need to come to Venture Pop and hang out in New Orleans.
I know. I want to try and swing it. I got a little conference and like was buying all this stuff and like signing up for all these conferences, and I was like, all right, I've got to put the cap on and like be an adult. We can't go to every conference we want to go to, but Venture Pop is definitely something I'd love to do. Well, I would love to go. This is totally off topic, but I would love to go like longer than. And stay for like a week or so. There was a lot of drinking within that. That's probably my kind of conference, right, Kathy? I recently convinced Kathy to switch to the Boda Box. So that's the kind of friend I am. Okay, and then I had, one more thing. I did say on Instagram that I was going to give away a copy of my slam on social media, but I keep refilling my wine glass here. So if you just send me an email, I'm just going to drop my email in. If you want a copy, email me and I'll give it to you for free. Because I'm like, that's just how I roll. Okay. All right, Miss Malaprop. Her slam on social media rocks. Yes, it does. Thank you. It fucking rocks. So, do you have anything else you want to add? Do you have anything coming up? Any fun promos? Anything you want to
so I'm in the middle of reworking. I have this 30-day SEO boot camp that I've taken it down off the site. It's a free program, but I'm kind of reworking it a little bit. So there'll be kind of an upgrade if you want the full thing as like a download. But I'm in the middle of redoing that right now. But if you want to go to my website and sign up for my email list, you'll know as soon as I'm ready for it to have people come to it again. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'm working on it. That's my big project tomorrow is part of that whole restructuring.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would totally sign up for something like that because that's something I need to work on. I think a lot of people, it takes a lot of work, especially when you're DIYing and you're a blogger and you're small, just to get your website up and running. And then it's like, oh, and now I have to optimize everything. So I know it's something a lot of us need to work on.
That's kind of one of my projects. Oh, I was supposed to tell you. Okay, so Kathy knows this, but our dear friend Cindy Spiegel, did you get to see Cindy's talk at Alt Summit, or were you in one of the other rooms?
Okay. Oh no, I went to hers.
So Cindy is so Cindy Spiegel has this thing called Collective of Us, which is actually how Kathy and I met, and then because of Kathy, I met you. Yeah, so it closes tomorrow night, I think. So it's really awesome, y'all. I've spent a shitload of money on my business and teaching myself stuff and education and courses and stuff. And it's honestly one of the best things that I've ever spent money on for my business, because it's not just here's this thing and here's this massive Facebook group of 3,000 people that are going to do weird Facebook spam to you later, which has totally happened in unnamed other courses that are useful, but then there's weird Facebook spam happening. This is not like that. This is super small, curated, handpicked by Cindy to make sure that you're a good fit for the program. If you're not, she'll be it's not a good fit for you right now, and that's cool. But it's really cool. It's kind of like this BLAB thing, only in private. So we would have every 2 weeks, we'd get to hang out and spend 2 hours talking about our different struggles and what's happening in our business and give each other feedback. And Cindy, of course, would give really amazing, super smart feedback and ideas and encouragement. She's a really awesome coach. She's super smart. If you check out the link there, she has this 3-part free video course that you can kind of get a feel about what she's all about if you're not familiar with her.
Yeah, and the videos are actually really, really awesome.
Yeah, so I met her at a conference about this time last year. I met her at Texas Style Council, which was a fashion bloggers conference. That was the last one that they had. And then I convinced Venture Pop to bring her down for Venture Pop, and she was amazing there. She was amazing at Alt Summit. She's just fucking amazing, y'all.
Didn't she speak at Venture?
Yeah, she
spoke at Venture Pop. Yeah,
she's just awesome.
Yeah, I'm in her bold. I'm part of her bold business.
Yeah. And she uses poop emojis all the time, and it's really funny.
No, they're shit emojis. Yeah, no, I totally had planned on signing up. In fact, she knows that I was going to, because she emailed me and was like, "Are you going to sign up? You said you were." And I was like, "I just have too many projects right now," and I'm so. I was crying in my closet about it, maybe just a little bit. I was I just can't. The timing is, I was so sad, but that's okay. I'm it's okay. It's okay. So I don't know who else is on here. And then we also get a lot of replay viewers. So for all of the replay viewers, the Collective of Us is really, really, really awesome. I started out in the Bold Business course, which was totally, oh my God, I love it. I still look back at my notes, and there's still a community of people that are still active in it. So it's a lot of fun.
She's awesome.
Yeah, I totally agree. So yeah, so anyways, next week on my BLAB show, I have Money with Moxie on, and I'm really excited because we're going to hit up financial topics. And I was like, oh, I'm like, that's me, like, where I'm like, let's not do this. I'll just send this to my accountant. But I think it's going to be really great because I think all of us lady bosses really need, and every kind of boss, like, we really need some financial help and like get our shit together because it's, you know, SEO is important, and then like you're gonna make money, so let's kind of we got to get it all together. Okay. Anything? Do you have any more questions for me? I just want to say thank you so much for being willing to like hop on here and just kind of share your knowledge.
No, thank you so much for having me. This was a fun first BLAB session. So it was fun.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad I got to. I was going to say something inappropriate, but
you're just talking about shit emojis.
I was gonna pop your.
Oh, you popped my cherry.
I was like, I'm glad I got to pop your BLAB cherry.
That happened.
Yeah. And I was like, maybe that's too far. I'm like, too far, Sam. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I hopefully we'll get to like meet up, skip work sometime.
Wait, what
day
is your show, Kathy?
I know, Kathy.
Skip work?
Hers like are on Wednesdays. It's 1:30 Mountain Time.
Yeah, I'm off on Fridays now. I cut back to 32 hours a work week.
Oh, that's awesome. So you can work like 20 hours at home on Friday.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Yeah, I understand how that works. I'm like, I'm gonna quit my job so I can work 72 hours a week.
Yeah. Maybe we should have a special edition, like a bonus episode of your show, Kathy. We'll do it like on a Friday afternoon or something. We'll be like,
I know, seriously. I'm gonna stop our recording, but
okay.
you'll still be in here. But just